All right, well, it's 12 o'clock, so hopefully everybody's here and people will just pop it in here. We'll welcome them as we come along, but welcome everybody. And if you were here for the last session, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about what we talked about in the last session. So if you weren't here for the last one, I'm sure there is a recording somewhere that you can get from Andy to get caught up here a little bit, but really just kind of building upon what we've already talked about a little bit. So the last session was all about, kind of the different channels that were available to you as far as digital marketing goes, what you can do with them, what the purposes were. And today we're going to be talking more about how you can actually improve your visibility on these channels. What do you do on these channels? How are they used? Those sorts of things. So digging a little bit deeper here and getting into the weeds a little bit more. So today's goals, we're going to be able to identify how digital marketing affects your marketing visibility overall, identify areas of opportunity for your business, and adjust your marketing strategy so that customers can easily find you. So as we talked about in the last presentation, I really want you guys to think about this through the lens of the marketing funnel, right? So like where your customers are beginning their search or their research in terms of what they want from a product or service, how your business can kind of meet those needs, and how your potential customers interact with your business all the way down this funnel until they become a paying customer for you. So we really want to think about that, kind of holistically, right? We want to see how can we market appropriately to the people that are going to be most likely to spend money at our business, and how can we create touch points throughout this funnel so that we are sort of speaking to what their needs are and, basically solving their problems. That's ultimately what we're here to do. Starting off here, digital marketing does equal visibility, especially in this day and age. There's basically two main ways people find your business, and that's outbound and inbound marketing. So outbound marketing is anything that's like phone calls, cold calling, you're getting in touch with somebody that isn't really searching for you, but you're sort of reaching out to them to communicate what your services or your product is. That way of marketing is generally a thing of the past. The close rates are extremely slim on outbound type marketing. And generally people find it to be pretty annoying overall. Inbound marketing is definitely the main and most important way to gain business. So inbound marketing being instead of you trying to go out and get customers that may not be looking for you, inbound is all about how do I provide a solution to people that are already looking for something that I provide. Being able to answer questions that people are asking on the web, again, increasing your visibility on these channels so that when people are doing research, they're finding your business, they're finding your product or your service, and kind of valuing you as a potential solution for their specific issue. So inbound marketing kind of includes everything that we talked about in the last presentation here, but just some different examples. We have shopping ads there in the top right corner here for the blue sweaters. We've got social media here. There's Target's Facebook page. We've got local searches here as well, and then organic searches, and then there's again a number of other things beyond that. Cool. So moving on to how customers actually find you. So three main ways. Again, this is kind of going back to the channels that we talked about in the last presentation. Search results and local packs, basically the main way people will find you. They're doing a search on Google or Bing or whatever search engine they prefer, and your website is coming up on those results, either in the regular organic results or in that local pack that we talked about before with the map results. There's paid advertisements on a number of platforms that we talked about last time, as well as social media as well. Okay, so then starting with search, how do you actually appear in a search engine for your potential customers, right? So there's basically two main sides of the coin for this. There's website content, and then there's technical pieces that are on your website side. So website content is really the main way that people find you. So the way that these search engines actually work is when you're posting content on your website, Google, Bing, Yahoo, they will send what's called a bot to your website, and it will do something called crawl your website, which just means that it's following all the links in your website, taking pictures and understanding what all the different pages are saying, within their content, and kind of indexing what that page is talking about, and again, kind of just the page in general is indexing the whole page for their own sort of search purposes. So when you're searching online on Google or any other search engine here, you're not searching the web at large. You're searching Google's index of the web, or Bing's index of the web, or Yahoo's index of the web. So they're only going to be serving up pages that they can find, right? And part of that indexing process is, again, being able to understand what topic that the content is covering, so that whenever somebody's searching for a particular question, they're able to provide your content or some content that answers that question effectively. So the first question that you kind of should ask yourself as you're thinking about your own website content is the purpose of the content or web page clear? So especially on the home page, because a lot of times that's like the first interaction people will have with your business. Is the product you're providing or the service you're providing very clear in terms of its benefits, its uses, what actually is it, right? One of the things that I like to do on my client sites is something called a 5-second test. It's something I'd recommend for a lot of you that already have websites. Just open up your website and scroll down it pretty quickly for about 5 seconds, and see if you're looking at the site brand new with fresh eyes, like would you be able to understand what is being talked about in those 5 seconds of just scrolling on the page? And if you don't feel like you can do that unbiasedly, try to get like a friend or family member to do it, and see what they come up with. That's a pretty good indication if the purpose of that page is clear, the purpose of the content is clear, the topic is effectively communicated, etc. A big one here is answering customer questions on your site. So again, what are the questions that people might be asking when they're searching for your product or your service, that would kind of lead them into your particular solution, right? So again, I think that I used the example of running shoes in the last presentation, so I'll just kind of stick with that. But let's say I'm in the market for new running shoes, but I'm just kind of starting out my search, right? So I might be searching what are the best running shoes for running a marathon, or what are the best running shoes for sprinting, or different types of running, or a number of different questions I might have around how those running shoes actually impact my performance while running. And those are the kinds of questions you want to answer on your website. What you want to do, again, thinking back to the funnel, is meet them at the top of the funnel with kind of those initial questions, get them introduced to your brand, get them show them that you can actually provide useful information for them. And that's going to help them work down the funnel and ultimately become a paying customer. Obviously, your chances of having that customer actually spend money with you increase dramatically if they are interacting with your brand right at the top of the funnel, versus them interacting with another brand right at the top of the funnel. They're going to think about that brand as they continue their search and their research. Is there enough content for a search engine to actually understand what you're talking about? This is a big one, and one that is a really common mistake. So again, like the time aspect of this is obviously a challenge, but when you're writing content for your website, you kind of have to think about it from both a user or human perspective and also a search engine perspective. Ultimately, the search engines are crawling your site and indexing your content so that they can serve that to users, but they have to be able to understand what it is that you're talking about in order for your content to be served effectively in the search results. So if you're not providing enough context around a specific topic, Google and other search engines can miss out on kind of serving that content, because there's other content on the web that covers that topic in more depth and is easier for Google to understand. So that's going to, again, make them more likely to serve that to actual people in the search results. So you got to think about that too, right? So if you're just like, if there's a question and you're just kind of like, especially a question that is a little bit more of a broad topic that you can kind of get into the weeds with, that you're just kind of answering yes or no, or like just a couple sentences, that's probably not going to be served in the search results. So I think I mentioned this in the last presentation too. When you're thinking about content that you should write for your site, a great place to start is just by searching the questions that your customers might be asking in Google or another search engine, and seeing what kind of content pops up. So, you know, is the content there more in depth? Is it kind of a shorter answer? What kind of, you know, kind of complementary things are going on those pages? And then try to emulate that in your own way. So again, if it's a broader question that's kind of covered in depth on these top ranking pages, then that's definitely something that you could do and try to do it better than what those pages are doing for your content. That's kind of the best and fastest way to try to reach the top of the search results. And then finally, your business information is clearly displayed. So Google kind of works in something called knowledge maps. They try to understand how entities are related to one another. So again, you might, like, when we're searching for like Tom Hanks, for example, right? Google knows that Tom Hanks is an actor who starred in X amount of films, you know, Saving Private Ryan, et cetera, and it kind of connects all the dots here. And it's the same thing when we're talking about digital marketing too. So as you're creating content for your website and you're doing more work on your website, Google's going to start to create a little bit of a knowledge map around your brand specifically. So, you know, Nike is an athletic wear company. They do running shoes, they do t-shirts, shorts, golf apparel, all this stuff. They're going to kind of create that map around that brand. So that's kind of how you want to think about it too, from a content perspective. Like, what kinds of things do you want to put on your website so that the search engine can kind of create that knowledge map around everything that your business provides, whether it's a product or a service. So moving over into the technical aspect of the site, there's a ton of resources out there that I would encourage you to check out regarding technical optimization for your website. It's called technical for a reason. So if you're not like real computer savvy, it definitely might be a challenge for you, but there's a lot of different website platforms like WordPress and Wix that have a lot of plugins and different features built in that make it easier for you to do alone. So definitely do some research on that. But there are some things about your website on the back end that make it easier for search engines to actually look at your site, index it, and serve it in the search results. So number one, is your site even allowing search engines to show it? And the best way to check this is to go to Google and type in site : and then your domain.com or .net or whatever it is. That's only going to return the indexed pages that Google has for your website. So if you're typing that in and you're not getting any results, Google does not have your website on their index and they are not serving it in the search results at all. If you type that in, your whole website is listed there, then you know you're good to go and it's being served for some queries. So you just need to start optimizing your content. And then finally, does your title match the body content? This one is pretty straightforward in theory and in thought, but not always you know, practiced. So the title of your content, is it descriptive enough, and does it match what you're talking about in the body content? Google does look at that and they understand the relationship between the title of the content and the body of the content. So for example, if you're trying to do like a clickbaity title and the body content doesn't really match what you're talking about in the title, they're not going to be as likely to serve it. It's kind of a smaller thing, but definitely one to keep in mind. Definitely don't take shortcuts. Google will catch up with you if you're taking shortcuts. So you do want to do it in the right way as far as how you build your content and technical aspects of your site, things like that. So moving over into local SEO and local packs. So again, this is definitely a must-have, especially if you're trying to serve a smaller area, which I would assume most people here probably are. You want to start by getting a Google Business Profile for this. Google Business Profile, of course, is what you see there, kind of listed in that search result pack there. So the main things with the Google Business Profile is that you want to make sure that your business info and hours matches whatever is being said on your website. Okay, so if your business name and what appears on your website is different, Google is not going to serve your result in those local packs. It has to be a cohesive experience. Same thing with NAP, or name, address, and phone number. So again, if your address and your phone number is listed on one thing on your Google My Business profile, but it's listed as something else on your website, that's going to be a problem as well. So make sure those things match exactly. And we're even talking about the formatting of the address here. So for example, if your address is 123 5th Street, and on your business profile you're typing out street, and on your website you do ST period, that is going to be considered different. So make sure that the formatting matches on both ends as well. So if you have street spelled out on the business profile, it needs to be spelled out on the website. If it's abbreviated on the business profile, abbreviated on the website. And Google My Business kind of is set up in a similar way as like a social media platform. So you can like post to Google My Business. You do want to do that because it shows Google that you are actively updating and actively optimizing your profile. If you kind of set up the profile and don't touch it ever, again, that's kind of signal to Google that you're not keeping up with it. There's probably outdated information on the profile, so that they're going to end up being less likely to serve it in a prime position for a local search. So the way that local pack results work, there's just basically a couple of different factors here that are that can influence how those results play out. So number one is proximity to the user. So if I'm in downtown Harrisburg and I'm searching for restaurants near me, it's not going to show me restaurants in York, because obviously that's a bit of a hike from Harrisburg. So it's going to be more relevant to me to show me restaurants that are in downtown or around in that surrounding area. So again, you want to think about that too. So if you're, kind of serving the York area, you want to make sure that that's optimized for York. You're going to be appearing for searches around York. You're probably not going to be appearing for searches so much in Harrisburg, though there are some settings you can do in your Google My Business profile to sort of set like a service area to tell Google like what ground you cover. Number two is relevance. Obviously, if I'm searching for restaurants near me, it's not going to show me like clothing boutiques, things like that. Reviews is another big one. We talked about that in the last presentation. So the more reviews that you have and the more quality they are, generally the better that's going to serve you in these search results. So you can kind of see the results here as well. So Roots of My Land has 4.9 stars, 103 ratings. The next one down has 5 stars at 16. Next one beyond that has 4.4. They have a lot of ratings at 1,053. So again, it kind of just depends on that mix of quality and quantity. There's not really one. You don't want to have a bunch of low star reviews. You don't want to have necessarily too little of a lot of star or 4 or 5 star reviews. You kind of need a mix of both. And then finally, that information, kind of going back up to what I was talking about at the beginning of the slide. Whatever's on your Google My Business profile needs to match what's on your website. And you also want to make sure you're filling out like every field in the back end for your Google My Business profile. So again, I mentioned on the last presentation, there's some different modifiers you can do on your Google Business profile. Like if you're a woman-owned business, you can indicate that. Veteran business, you can indicate that. Anything that you can kind of do to make sure people have as much information about your business as possible, again, is going to bode well and bode better for you in the local search. So Google's going to tend to favor profiles that have their profile more built out, because it's going to provide users with enough information to make a decision. Okay, so then moving on into paid search advertisements. How do you maximize visibility here? And this kind of applies mainly to Google Ads and Bing Ads, but as other social media ad platforms have been built out, a lot of this will apply to those platforms as well. So let's say you're running search ads, right? Search ads just being like if you're searching in Google or searching in Bing, it's those ads that appear sort of at the top of the results above the organic results. They usually have an ad tag next to them. And those are the ones you're paying per click on. So when you're running search ads, you kind of want to think about a couple things. Number one, who are your customers? This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see on a daily basis in my line of work anyway, is people will run Google search ads just thinking that, hey, like Google kind of knows what we do and we can just pretty much set it and forget it. You definitely can't. I mean, there are some situations where that can be successful, but it's pretty rare. You want to make sure that you are going into your advertising with a very clear idea of who you're advertising to. Digital marketing in general gives you the ability to target the exact kind of person that's going to be interested in your product. So that's definitely something you want to take advantage of. That's going to minimize the amount of wasted ad spend that you have. So you're not spending money on people that are definitely not going to be good for your business. So like if you're selling dresses, someone like me is probably not going to be your target market. So that's somebody you can weed out and not spend money on. What are your customers searching for? So again, you're bidding on particular keywords. So you got to kind of figure out how people are searching for your business. And the best way to do that is just kind of think about how you would do it, or ask a friend, how would they do it? You can kind of come up with a list of keywords that would probably pop up there. There are a number of tools out there too that can give you some ideas. Google Ads actually does have a keyword planning tool built in. So like if you put in your website, it's going to give you some suggestions for keywords that you might want to target. You can just put in topics and it will give you some suggestions on what to target there as well. So definitely lean into those. And then on the ad side of things, does your ad text entice them to actually click, right? So if your ad text is not descriptive enough, if it's not really, kind of communicating a unique selling point or what the user is going to get out of it, they're probably not going to click on it. You're probably going to see, sort of poor results as a result of that. So you do want to kind of think through that a bit too. Once you kind of define who you're marketing to and what they might be searching, you want to make sure that the ad text itself aligns with what they're searching for and kind of, hey, like, I know you have a question, here's the solution to that question, and here's why this solution is better than the other solutions you might be looking at. And then one of the biggest kind of misses that I see a lot is people think so much about the ads themselves that they forget what happens after they click the ad. So is the page that you're sending them to on your website relevant to what the ad is talking about? One of the biggest mistakes that I see is like people will advertise a specific product or a specific service on their page, but then the landing page just sends them to the home page where they actually have to find and dig for that service or product. So think through that a little bit. Like if I'm a user and I'm searching for running shoes, am I going to want to be sent to the Nike homepage? Probably not. I want to go straight to that running shoes category page. Or maybe even if it's for a specific running shoe, maybe I want to go straight to a product page for that specific running shoe. So think through that as well as you're constructing those ads. Whatever your ad text is talking about, that experience needs to be met in proper on the website itself. So if you're saying to a page that's irrelevant, doesn't provide enough information, makes it hard to actually convert, you got to think through that as well. So there's two sides of the coin. There's the ads, Google Ads side, Bing Ads side, and there's the website side. They have to kind of communicate with each other and line up with whatever it is that your goal actually is for those ads. So as far as search ad platforms go, which one should you use? As I mentioned on the last presentation, Google definitely has the vice grip here on the search market. So you're going to get by far the most search volume, the best propensity to do well on paid search on Google, and it's good for both B2B and B2C as well. Bing is a little bit more specific to a B2B setting, and it's also generally a little bit of an older demographic as well. So we find typically that people that are using Bing are probably above 40 years of age or around that neighborhood. And they're generally doing it in a work setting. So again, typically why Bing is better for B2B in an older target market. So a good example of that, I have some clients that are kind of in the industrial sphere. So you might have a little bit of an older demographic. like in a purchaser position or something like that, that would be searching on Bing, like that, something like that would be good. Pretty much everything else though is definitely going to be good on Google. So then jumping over into social media, how do we, sort of increase our visibility here, and what do we do on this platform to make it work for us? So again, kind of flipping back to the other presentation, remember that social media is, the kind of the primary purpose there is to engage with your target audience and communicate and build a relationship with them. There are some lead generation capabilities, especially when we're talking about Facebook. But as a whole, you're wanting to create information about your business. You wanting to connect with your target audience specifically. So what should you post? And that's typically the most common question whenever somebody's jumping onto a social media platform. So to decide that, you got to kind of figure out a couple things. What do you want your brand messaging to actually be, right? So do you want it to be on a funnier side? Do you want to kind of attack your target market with humor? Or do you want it to be more professional, helpful? So you kind of have to figure out what tone you want and then be consistent about it. When you're ping-ponging different tones, you're probably not going to be aligning very well with your target audience. You do want to kind of pick one and kind of stick to that. And then some of the biggest mistakes that I see businesses make on social media is that they don't invite people to actually engage with their posts. So again, the goal of social media is really to create a conversation between the brand and the audience. So if you're not inviting people to comment or like or share your posts, they're going to be less likely to do so. People generally will take direction, or at least more likely to do what you want them to do if you ask them to do it. So don't be afraid to say like, hey, like comment here with your thoughts on this topic, or whatever it might be. And then this one kind of seems pretty self-explanatory, but don't post boring stuff. Social media is for many people an escape, and they kind of like to go on here to relax. So if you're posting stuff that's like just very boilerplate stuff about your business, you're probably not going to get a lot of engagement on it. People are probably going to scroll past it. You kind of have to think about what your audience might want from your page and try to meet that. You have about 2 seconds to grab their attention, so it definitely has to sort of pop out from the page a little bit. So don't just post just to post. You really do have to think through this a little bit and figure out how you're going to make each post provide value for your audience. And the biggest thing that it's kind of a common theme throughout this presentation, but definitely applies to social as well, is how are you going to be different from all of the other choices that a user has when they're in the market to buy literally anything. We live in a highly developed society. There's a ton of different commercial options out there to pick from for pretty much every vertical. So you really have to think through how you and your business and your brand are different than all of the other choices that a user has in the marketplace, and really hammer that home. That's like the key. Find that unique selling proposition and really hammer it home. So I have this little matrix here as far as risk versus reward with social media. Obviously, you can get good kinds of attention, and then you can get really bad kinds of attention on social media. And these types of posts will range in risk versus reward. So starting in that top left corner, we're looking at high risk and low reward. This is going to be things like political affiliations, polarizing posts. You're obviously going to alienate about 50% of your audience. I'm sure you've seen some brands out there that have made political posts that say, their sales went up X amount in the past quarter. That's going to be short-lived. It's definitely not worth the risk most of the time. And then beneath that, in the lower left corner, we have low risk, low reward. This is the boring stuff that I was talking about on the last slide. So if you're just saying, hey, call me for X service or X product, and you're not really saying like why they should or like what makes you unique or anything like that, you're definitely not going to get any results out of that. It's just kind of the way it goes. People have a limited attention span, and if you're not saying anything that is going to be catching their attention at all, then you're not going to get any engagement or any results from those types of posts. In the top right corner there, high risk, high reward. These are things like memes and TikToks. Memes, if done in the right way, can definitely take off. We've seen that a number of times. Same thing with TikToks. But these also have the propensity to take off again in the wrong type of way. So you do want to be careful and judicious with what you're posting in terms of memes or TikToks. And then bottom right corner, this is high reward and low risk. So you kind of want to stay more to this quadrant if you can most of the time. These are links to tools on your site, informative, helpful articles, engaging, unique surveys, basically anything that's going to be helpful content for your target audience. So if you have like some tools on your website, like a loan calculator or like a room visualizer, something like that, that's a perfect thing to put on TikTok, or not just TikTok, but any social media platform, perfect thing to post. Again, surveys, something that can get people engaged with your posts and starting a conversation on social media, definitely going to be a win, and generally pretty low risk as well. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, you want to stay more towards the bottom right quadrant as much as you can. Stay away from the lower left quadrant as much as you can. So what platform should you use? We talked about this a little bit last time as well, but just to kind of rehash a little bit. So Facebook is going to be most audiences, mainly 25 and over here on Facebook. Again, Facebook's a great place to start a conversation with your target audience, but also you can get leads from Facebook as well. We have seen that be successful as a lead or sales driving platform. Instagram is going to be a pretty wide audience here, 18 to 45, typically in the age range. Again, Instagram's not going to be a direct lead driver or direct sale driver, but it is a great way to get engagement with your target audience, kind of give them a window into what you're doing in your business, and just kind of keep them abreast of what's happening. Twitter, again, a little bit more for the tech savvy side. Age range here goes from about 18 to 35. Again, this is a little bit more difficult of a platform because you only have so many characters to make things happen for you there on Twitter. So you do want to kind of think through that. And again, it's going to be more on the tech savvy target market side. On YouTube, this is everybody, and this is by far the most underused platform that I see in digital marketing today. YouTube is the second largest search engine, believe it or not, outside of Google, and it's a Google-owned product. People look on YouTube for how-to type videos every day in astounding volume. So especially if you're, it doesn't even matter what industry or what vertical you're in, there's probably a how-to video that you can create that'll be helpful on YouTube. And I guarantee you, if you search for how to literally do anything on YouTube, you're going to see some sort of home videos in the mix in some of the top search results there. And what I mean by that is like people like just Joe Schmoes in their garage with their iPhone, sort of walking you through how to do something like fix a dishwasher or whatever. So you don't have to have like this massive production value to be successful on YouTube. You just have to have helpful content, and that's literally it. And video does particularly well, again, in this day and age when attention spans are at an all-time low. Coupling your content on your website with video is definitely a 1-2 punch, because you're going to be able to kind of provide an overview in a video that'll be great for people that don't want to read through the content, but then people that want to learn a little bit more in depth can read through the content. You're going to kind of be able to reach a wider audience as a result of doing something like that. So if you're not currently leveraging video and leveraging YouTube, I would highly recommend it. We're seeing video perform very nicely, across every vertical, but especially in like that how-to space is definitely the place to be in video. On TikTok, this is, as I mentioned in the last presentation, going to be a younger audience, typically between 12 and 18. They're not going to have a lot of buying power, as I mentioned. So, I mean, if you're obviously you have a business that has products or services for this age group, then yeah, TikTok's definitely the place to be. But if your business is kind of targeting an older demographic, I wouldn't worry too much about TikTok. LinkedIn, that's going to be professionals, B2B. Again, kind of a great way to leverage, getting some emails or your email marketing list built up by trading emails for white papers, things like that. So definitely keep that in mind as well if that's something that would fit in your vertical. So as far as resources to check out here, at least in the realm of what we discussed today, there's a number of different sites that have some good content here. Neil Patel is a bigger name in the digital marketing industry. He's a little bit of, kind of a controversial character, but that's a story for another time. He does have some good blog posts though on content marketing, what it is, how it works, kind of going a little bit further than what I did today with you guys. And then if you kind of go down to the second to last one there, I have another one there for how and when to grow your PPC campaign. So again, kind of digging a little bit more into the weeds, the technical pieces of actually how to make your paid search campaigns work for you. And then some other things here, there's some HubSpot articles as well. I mentioned to you before that they have some great stuff on email marketing. They do have a content marketing piece and a local SEO piece as well. WordStream has a local SEO piece. Sprout Social has a local SEO piece. So definitely some good resources here that I highly recommend that you check out and read just to get a little bit more in-depth information about what we discussed today. That pretty much wraps up the majority of what I wanted to cover today. But if you do have any questions or anything that I can cover for you right now, we do have a pretty lengthy question and answer time. I kind of breezed through that pretty quickly, but anything that you guys have that you want to cover or talk about, go ahead and drop it either in the chat or in the Q&A section on Zoom here, and we'll go ahead and cover those.